maybe you've seen it. That's the Pro Max from Unify. They sent it to me, and it was kind of a surprise. And I thought, hey, this is RGB. This is kind of like my thing. I'll take a look at it. And so that is the Pro Max switch. You see it back there glowing. It is flashing all different colors right now, mainly because I have a small hack in place that actually I assigned those all to VLANs to match my color scheme because right now it doesn't support modes for our different colors. But anyways, long story short, it's a switch that has RGB, but it's kind of more than that. But they're doing something a little bit different and giving you some control over the ports, taking away activity and status lights and replacing them with lights that look like that. I hear in the future there's going to be a lot more control over them. Even possibly making those lights turn into status or activity lights too. So a lot of control. I think the hardware is in front of the software now, so maybe the software will get caught up. But I think it's cool. It's cool. It's cool for sure for me. Like you guys know, like hey, I like RGB. I like blinking lights. I mean, can't you tell by the stream? So for me, I think it's cool. I think it could be cool in a lot of different ways too. I mentioned this in my video, but you know, I think an eco mode or something like that would be awesome. Because right now there isn't a switch, you know, I don't know of, around where you can disable all lights. and it sounds counterintuitive to buy a switch that has, you know, RGB controllable lights and then to turn them off. But at the same time, if they're giving you that hardware and that software with that capability, that also gives you that option. So I'd love to see that too. I talked about it a little bit in the video, but I would love to be able to just walk up to it, hit a button on it, or hit a button, you know, in the unified controller and be able to like have it wake up, do my thing, either look at VLANs or to trace a port, or even to see activity lights, or even see which ones are PoE powered right now. That would be awesome too. And then when I walk away after all of that, it just turns off. So I don't know. I'm going to keep it like that all the time. But again, like I wouldn't keep it like that all the time in my server room. I wouldn't. I would, if possible, wire something up to, you know, Home Assistant or something like that to trigger it to turn on, as all of my lights in my server room do turn on when I walk in. So anyways, I think it's cool. It's definitely it's up to your own taste whether you like it or not. So I think it's pretty cool. Anyways, let's talk about what you guys are talking about. I'm sure you know what I've been working on. Oh, I'll throw one more thing out there that I've been working on. You've probably seen it on Twitter. I think I'm finally done with my migration with my HL15. This has been a journey. No problem, no problems with either the hardware I'm using or anything like that. I had to move about 40 terabytes 3 times. I had to move about 40 terabytes 3 times, which takes time. Sometimes disk to disk, mostly disk to disk, or pool to pool, I should say, back and forth. And so it's been a journey. It's pretty awesome. You know, I started out, you know, virtualizing TrueNAS for a long time just because, you know, I didn't have enough hardware. Now I have enough hardware. I'm going back to physical, which I've done in between a few times for my replication server. But I think I have it set up pretty good. And I did drop in some NVMe drives. I picked up against my better judgment, maybe. I picked up some Intel Optane NVMe's for a decent price, primarily for my slog disk. To hopefully reduce some of those reads and writes, basically occupying the time of read and writes on my main pool and moving those read and writes off of the main pool into its own mirrored pool that is with Intel Optane. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's all ready. It's in production. I moved. I won't get into it because I'm sure you guys will have questions. Anyways, that's what I've been working on. It's been super fun. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of virtualization, but I just feel this huge sigh of relief now that my NAS is no longer virtualized. Even though it works great. You know, there was always that extra, well, I need to reboot Proxmox. And so now that I need to reboot Proxmox, my NAS is going down. And so I don't have that anymore. I still have that etched in my brain though. Like last night I was rebooting one of my Proxmox servers after patching everything. And I was like, wait, wife's watching Plex. Can I do it? Oh yeah, I can. I could totally do it now because it doesn't matter. It's not there anymore. So Anyways, let's talk about you guys. Enough about me. And I do apologize for being late. Like I said, we'll go a little bit later since I start later. And let's go. Let's go from the top of the chat, and we'll work our way down. Let me grab a drink of this. Me and Randoneering and a few others, Twisted Grim, I think, have been loving this caffeinated sparkling water. As you can see, I've drank about half of it so far, so it's starting to kick in. But no, this is not sponsored. And full disclosure, I did used to work for this company, but not sponsored or anything like that. But Target makes a great sparkling water. Some people call it seltzer water. I just call it bubbly water. But they make a caffeinated one that is cola flavored with cherry. And it's pretty good. Pretty good. Anyways, not sponsored. Full disclosure, I used to work at that company, so... Okay, let's get into it. Let's see what you guys are working on, and let's pull up some stuff. So yeah, there was a lot of me testing. Somehow we got all the way up to 14. So test. Some spam from Stream Elements. Reminder, turn that off. Hello everyone. Sigor, how's it going? Good to see you. CPB Pilot, how's it going? Good afternoon. Hey, g'day. Good to see you. Git day says git day. How's it going? Ilude 18. All right, I'm loving it. Hey everyone. Yeah, as you can see, I got my test up to 20. Test up to 20. And Xavius, we saw this. This was your sub message. Vikings lose. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of used to it. It's par for the course. You know, it's par for the course. Actually, we're used to them doing really good and then really bad. So it's like you get your hopes up and then nothing happens, and then you're like, well, this is normal. Hey, all Scotch, how's it going? Good to see you. Me asking you, what are you working on this weekend? If you have something you want to throw it in chat, throw it in there. Let's talk about it. Let's see. Who are the Vikings and what did they lose? Yeah, I like it. I like where you're going there. The Vikings, NFL football team. Maybe I'm falling for the joke, but NFL football team here in Minnesota. That's here in Minneapolis, actually downtown. If you're not from the U.S., just in case, or you don't follow sports. I don't follow sports all that much. So there was a time where I couldn't tell you where the Vikings were. Woody, let's see. Woody, I'm receiving about 3 servers. And 2 Cisco switches with 48 ports. What would you recommend I do with those? Three's a magic number. 3's a magic number for me. As soon as you say 3, I start to think quorum. And when I think quorum, I think clustering. So when I think clustering, I think one of 2 things. So the nice thing is you have 3 servers, which if you have 3 servers, you could build a cluster. If you have a cluster of 3, then you can have quorum. Quorum is just a system for voting, and it's an algorithm to say like, hey, you got to have at least two members in this voting system to vote for who the leader is. 3 is the magic number, the minimum number to have quorum in an HA system, and so that if 1 is down, the 2 can vote and say, hey, you're no longer the leader, I'm the leader, and 1 will take over. So pretty awesome. There's 2 things that I could recommend you do with them, and I'm sure you could think of others. 1, Proxmox. You could have an HA Proxmox cluster if you wanted HA virtual machines or HA LXC containers. You could totally do that. You're gonna need very fast backend for both network and storage, but if you get those 2 things right, you could easily do an HA Proxmox cluster. Number 2Z, for me, Kubernetes, Kubernetes cluster. I know it's 30 machines, but if they are 3 beefy servers, I see no problems with running, 3 servers with all roles applied to all of them. Obviously, this, that's not a good idea to serve, thousands of users and run databases and run 1,000 containers on it, right? But if you have 3 servers at home and you want to play with Kubernetes, you could run, and I would highly recommend it if you're ever interested in Kubernetes or containers in general. You could run a 3-node cluster in Kubernetes, and it would totally run fine. When you say servers, I'm like, okay, it's going to have enough cores, enough RAM, throw some SSDs in there, and you got some pretty fast storage to work with. But yeah, switches, yeah, that can be up to you. That can be up to you too. I would probably lag them all the way up to your firewall and do some redundancy with failover. I don't know, because if you're getting 248 ports, I mean, you're probably not going to patch 96 ports. You're probably not going to even have 24 servers with dual NICs to patch them all. So I would say just have a failover. Have one be a failover, or cold standby. Cold standby, like off, as a spare. But that's no fun. That's no fun. But yeah, sounds fun. Sounds fun, Woody. You got a lot to work on. Scotch, Techno, Tim, your comments last weekend encouraged me to tear down and rebuild my rack. I'm sorry, or maybe that's a good thing. I don't know what my comments were. I'm sorry. I'm usually good at keeping threads throughout the stream, but prior streams are just kind of like there's a lot that's happened in between. I don't know what my comments were. Hopefully they were good. And I hope I didn't lead you astray, but let me know. Central Central, yeah, exactly. American football. You have to say American football because everywhere else it's just football, which to us is soccer, But yeah, totally American football. Good day. Hey Tim, what do you use to monitor your disk health? I've downloaded G Smart Control and am testing it now. What other solutions are there? Yeah, good question. I mean, the only thing I have set up is just smart tests. I run smart tests on all my disks, whether they're on Proxmox. If it's on Proxmox, I run the smart disk checker. I think it's just a scheduled task, and then I wire up alerts to that, right? So I know that something's going wrong. It's just not like a tree falls in the woods scenario, right? If you have a tree fall in the woods, is anyone there to hear it? Well, that's kind of how it is if you wire up your tests, but don't wire up the alerts. So if you're running tests, no matter what it is, and disk checkers and errors catching, wire up alerts too. That's the other half. You haven't done the full thing until you do both. And then, on TrueNAS, I do the same thing. So on both, I'll do a physical test of smart, do long and shorts with alerting turned on. And then if it's a ZFS pool, I'm going to scrub that pool weekly. Where it does a scrub and checks every, bit or checks the hashes of that whole entire ZFS pool to make sure it matches the hash map. Now, I think that's how it works. Anyways, it's going to verify that the pool is healthy or is still has integrity. Right? And so I don't do anything more than that. I'm sure you could wire up all kinds of stuff to it. But I think Smart in general is pretty good. Smart will give me, it'll give me physical, testing, short and long. And then, if I'm doing ZFS, then I do the scrub weekly. I wish I had something better. I mean, maybe G Smart Control is that. I just have a hard time installing something else to do something that I think Linux can do, I don't want to say natively, but with the help of Smart. But maybe this is better. Let me know if it's better. Woody will have 2 HP ProLiant DL320s and 360s Gen 6, Gen 10. Awesome. We talked about some things you could do with it. Sounds awesome. Football. Where are the Vikings from? Yeah, right? You know this, Xavius. You know this. There were 21 Vikings. Are we still doing the number thing? Yeah. I think we are. I think we're up to 21. Minnesota, where Tim is from. That is right. Wait, Minnesota has a football team? That's right. Xavius knows this. He's just trying to zing me. Because he's from a neighboring state that doesn't even have a football team. I mean, how are you going to zing someone that has a bad football team? Is a bad football team better than no football team? Just throwing it back at you. Scotch, I pulled off the internet. That is still so tall. I don't think that's something I can fix without some really custom CSS. I pulled off the internet and hardwired equipment that family depends on, and it's now standalone. Let me take my time rebuilding the rack. It's pretty. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Downtime for family. Yeah. You gotta schedule that downtime for family. It's usually when family isn't around. Troll. It totally is a troll. You guys are trolling me. It's okay because I'm not a huge sports fan, but I do enjoy kind of the camaraderie of it all, and also the shade throwing. I appreciate that more than the sport sometimes because it's all fun. Central, I'm from Texas. LL. I just wanted to say that. Oof. What's up? Okay, Rockstar. How's it going? I'm actually in Fargo. Yep, exactly. So I'm actually in Viking country. That's right. You're in North Dakota. I was going to say it, but you said it first, so I didn't want to divulge any information. But yeah, I mean, come on. North Dakota? No, North Dakota is pretty awesome. North and South. Trevor, oh, that's your message. Curious to know how it goes. Merlin, I'm thinking about installing TrueNAS Core on my HL15 bare metal, just researching how to go back to what 45 drive ships before I do with it. I think it's as simple as installing Rocky Linux and running the script they have from GitHub repo, but seems too simple to be true. No, hey, Merlin, let me lower this. Merlin, you're exactly right. That's all you need to do. So they ship it, I think, with Rocky 8, I want to say. I think it's 8, because 9 is out now. You're testing my Rocky knowledge. But they do ship it with the previous version of Rocky, I'll say that, right? Which is non-deterministic, so I might as well say 8. If it's 9, let me know. But they ship it with 8, and they ship it with the... then I think they run the script. So the script that you're talking about is adding their existing repositories and adding Cockpit. I think that's installed. Personally, the first thing I did was wipe the whole thing. So I couldn't tell you. I did boot it up and saw that Rocky was on, but I did not verify that they installed their extra repositories for both Cockpit and everything else. But if not, yep, just do that. Install Rocky, install their repositories for Cockpit and all that, and you'll be right back to where you were. The nice thing is it's Linux and it's open source, and if you don't want the Cockpit stuff, just don't do that afterwards. But I did the same thing. I even tried with Ubuntu, a couple of different versions of Ubuntu, because I wanted to try it out. I wanted to go kind of bare metal. Even bare OS, rather than TrueNAS proper. I thought about doing, ZFS standalone on Ubuntu. But I felt like at the end of the day, I was just rebuilding TrueNAS, right? I wanted NFS shares, I wanted Samba shares, I wanted ZFS, and then I wanted to run Minio, so I needed containers. And I was just kind of like, at what point am I rebuilding TrueNAS, but not as good? And so I went that route too. Hopefully their Cockpit stuff gets a little bit further, because I did see they had some decent management tools for ZFS, which I was looking for, an alternative to manage ZFS in a GUI. Right? So, yeah. But yeah, so that should be all you need to do. Central. I'm just going to say Central because I want to make sure. I'm going to Central Marketing, MTK. I'll just go Central. I'm in a suburb of Minneapolis. All right. We're neighbors then. Not bad. Saturday afternoon. I agree. Saturday afternoons are nice. I kind of switch my streams back to them. I would say officially now. I was going to say unofficial, except for everything I have posted online says now it's back on Saturday. So I think Friday's going to be the new exception. We'll see. Towley. So when is the RGB switch going to be part of the channel points where the theme redeems? I like it, Towley. I like it. I like where you're going with this one. As soon as Unify, or as soon as Ubiquity, I guess I should say. I have to erase that from my memory. I've called them Unify for so long, and it's like Ubiquity makes Unify products. Anyways, long story short. Easy to do to call a company by the product, especially when you're new to them. But anyways, as soon as they open it up with some kind of management solution, I don't know. It would be cool though. Would be cool if the theme actually matched the Switch. I'll tell you how you could do that now. If you change it to, Tokyo Nights, it would match, but not in this light mode. Not in this light mode for sure. Xavius, just included them. Originally bought 5 drives. He sent 6. Then I ordered a GPU for the same price, and he packed HDs thinking it was an HD order. Whoopsie. Yeah, got to go check with the person in shipping who accidentally shipped 5 GPUs or 4 GPUs instead of hard drives. Flowdash, watching today. Thank you. It's a lot cooler in here now. And it matches my Ubuntu. It kind of matches that Ubuntu theme I got going on over there. Flowdash, how's it going? Watching today while I procrastinate a PSU replacement at work right now. Hey, that's awesome. Happy to be part of your experience in replacing a PSU. Is it? I assume it's server, so it should be a click, pop, and a pull out. I'm oversimplifying. If it's desktop based, then yeah, you got a lot of screws and you got all that stuff to do. But if it's server and you have multiple Should be a quick hot swap. But then that means getting up and going to do stuff on a Saturday. But hey, Flourish, hey, I appreciate it. Good luck on the PSU swap. Thanks for tuning in on a Saturday while you're at work. Sorry you're at work, but thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Xavius just decided to send them anyway in the GPU box. He's wheeling and dealing, So Trevor says 4X CM420s. M4s with 24. Oh yeah, we talked about this, but we didn't talk about 4 of them being used for cache for vSAN per node. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. It's like, okay, well, if you run out of half a terabyte of RAM, then you have SSDs for a super fast cache to then back your vSAN, which I assume is mostly spinning disks except for this cache. So yeah, it sounds awesome, man. You're building an enterprise at home. Loving it. Twisted Grim, how's it going, man? Howdy. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm just starting moving my media library and other data to my NVMe array. No need to keep a big NAS with a bunch of power-hungry spinning rest online 24/7. Gonna be a good Saturday now. Yeah, Twisted Grim. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, if you get enough NVMe's, like I have a handful of. I wouldn't say a handful. I think 3 or 4 1 terabyte ones. I mean that even if you striped and mirrored that RAID 10 or whatever you striped mirrors, whatever you're doing with if you're doing ZFS or not, you get 2 terabytes. Is that enough for your media collection? For a lot of people, that would be for sure. Fortunately for me, my collection includes all of my YouTube videos ever, and not just what you see, what you don't see, and what you don't see is 100x more than what you do see. I mean, for at least for me personally, like a 6-minute video I shot or edited down to the other day, I probably have 150 gigs. At least 150 gigs of video. And so I was talking about this a little bit with a few people, but also Caster Labs that like, I think at some point I'm gonna AV1 encode most of those files, AV1 encode all of those for archival so that I could still open those projects in the future. They're just not broken. Our files are missing, but they'll be at lower quality if I need to re-render them, which is fine. Most of the time I don't, when I open a project, it's not to re-render the video that I've already done. That master copy will stay as is. But all of my A-roll and B-roll of me fumbling around and messing up and things are out of focus that I, for some reason I hold on to, I could get that to probably a quarter of the disk space. So anyways, long story short, I agree that it is nice to power down things if you can. One thing that I've also been doing, and any like TrueNAS or RAID diehard will tell you not to do, is I do add power savings to my disks. I have 2 pools right now, and so one pool I totally spin down, 100% spin down the pool, and go into low power mode, because that pool only stays on, or that pool is only needed to do replication tasks once a day. So I was like, why run, all of these disks, 24/7, my 6 drive pool, why run these 24/7 when they only need to be on for 15 minutes a day? So I've started doing some stuff like that. And I get it, like people say you don't want to add additional wear and tear, and if this were an enterprise environment, I probably wouldn't do it. But it's not an enterprise environment. It's at home. I pay the power bill, and I got a really good warranty on those drives, so I do it. But yeah, it's a good point. I'd be curious to see though too. I've heard from people, and I don't know if this is true. I should probably validate it at some time, that NVMe drives and even SSDs can or do use more power than spinning hard drives too, and when they read and write. But for the most part, it's going to give off probably the same amount of heat, takes up a lot less space, and depending on the drive, if you have older drives, spinning drives, they do use a lot of power. So anyways, I should test that sometimes. I have the tools to do it. I should do it. But I was told by a storage vendor. I was told a storage vendor who sells spinning disks. So you could see how I don't want to take that as at their word, because who knows what their intentions are. I assume for the most part their intentions are good, but the skeptic in me sometimes is like, You sell spinning hard drives and you're telling me that NVMe's use more power because you don't have NVMe's. Anyways, long story short. Besides the point, I'm curious to know, and maybe I should solve that mystery. I'm sure Tom Lawrence would know. He would know. He knows all this stuff. Real quick, let me get caught up on follows. Radu, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Kraken Binary, I like it. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Inspector Diameter, whoa, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. And Deva, let's go Deva Bubbacar. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Let's see. So Twisted Grim, yeah. Enjoy though. That sounds fun. It's fun. It's fun moving to new stuff. I was talking about this Discord the other night. Like, new stuff is always fun. So whenever you get to do new stuff, whether it's new drives, new server, new anything, it's fun. It's fun. The internal net. Try to import my home automation VHD. Oh yeah, that sounds. So VHD is your virtual hard disk from, I assume, from Hyper-V, or I guess it could be anything. I think it's a standard. Could be anything, I guess. Could be ESXi. But trying to import it. Interesting. Where are you importing it to? What was it exported from? I'm betting I'm just guessing. ESXi, and you want to import it into Proxmox. I'm just saying. Just guessing. But hey, good luck. That's tough. It's tough converting virtual disks. It's tough importing them because even after you do import them, and they may or may not work, then you have a little bit of cleanup to do too, as you probably know. If you're moving between downloading from the website and importing to PVE, all right, yeah, I like it. All right, so if you're doing it, yeah, same system, yeah, should be fine. I've done it in the past, like I've done migrations. I've done P to V, P to V, V to P, or yeah, physical to virtual, V to P and P to V and P to and V to V. I've done so many migrations in the past with my own hypervisor journey. I sometimes have migrated Windows machine from ESXi to Proxmox, and then I'm like, oh, this has the ESXi or the agent on them, the guest editions from VMware, and I need to uninstall those and install the ones for Proxmox or for open source systems. And so there's a lot of cleanup for that to do. With you, it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case, but good luck. It's always fun once you get it going. But be sure after you do, if you can, if it's Linux or even if it's Windows, to install not the guest editions, but the equivalent. It's slipping my mind. QEMU guest agent. Be sure that if it is Linux and that VHD doesn't come with it, that virtual hard drive, be sure that you get the QEMU guest agent then installed. It should come with it. I mean, if they're planning for you to run it on Linux. Towley. Moving my server rack to the garage, ran Plex on the mind. Ran PEX lines to heat the garage in the winter into HVAC closet during the summer. Efficiency. All right, so moving your server rack to the garage, totally get it. Noise, power, electricity. Oh, not power. Well, you're going to be subsidizing some of that power from a different system. But I totally get it. Ran PEX lines to heat the garage in the winter and into HVAC closet during summer. Efficiency. Yeah, I like it. I can always appreciate anyone who knows anything about HVAC, because I know very little. I know I turn the thermostat on, it calls for heat, and the heat turns on. And I have a boiler and stuff, so it's a little bit different. I kind of understand it. I mean, I understand how it works, like the physics behind it and everything, but I'm not the greatest at like doing anything plumbing or anything HVAC, so I can always appreciate people who do. Howdy, Tim. Populous Mocha. Hope everyone has a great week. Finished my migration and started backups this week. Trying to work on automating the turn on for my R720 through iDRAC and triggering it off when the TrueNAS VM has finished all the tasks. I like it. I like this Populous Mocha. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier about spinning down disks. And what I do with one of my servers is, I'll tell you how I solved it. And maybe you don't have to go through iDRAC, or maybe you do. But I think you're on a great path. I understand what you're doing. You want to power on your big beefy server during a certain period of time, so it's not running 24/7. You want it to run its backup tasks in TrueNAS, and then shut down when it's done. Pretty awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. And so it's basically on demand, right? And so I've done something similar There's a couple approaches to how you can do this. One, you could do wake on LAN and wake it up remotely. So take iDRAC out of the equation altogether, right? And just use something, standard wake on LAN packet, have another machine wake that thing up. If you have a low power Pi or something on, wake it up at midnight. As soon as it wakes up, it's just going to run its sync jobs or shortly thereafter. And then, a post task of that sync job to then shut down. That's an easy way. That's relatively easy. You got to test wake on LAN and make sure all that works and set that up on a remote computer with a bash script, right? Then there's another approach that I've done for a long time, is that all BIOS have this standby, I think it's standby 5 or something, S5. I think it's called S5. Maybe it's S5, S3, I don't remember. But what that is, it's an alarm clock. It's an alarm clock in the BIOS that basically says like, hey, I'm gonna wake up at this time, and the time, when the time matches the time you set. And so that's a pretty low tech way to do it, to just say like, hey, every day at 3 in the morning, I'm just going to tell the BIOS power on. And so at 3 in the morning, it powers on. Maybe your sync or your backup task starts at 3:15, and then everything else downstream is still the same. So I think I'm solving everything upstream, right? So do you want to send a wake on LAN packet? Do you want to do it through iDRAC, or do you want to do it through BIOS wake up? All three of those great options. Everything downstream from there is going to be the same. So pretty awesome. I've done a lot of this, as you could probably tell. I've thought about it a lot too. There are some edge cases There are some edge cases for UPS stuff, like power on, power off, that type of stuff, but you're going down the right path. I would say if you want to solve it generically, you could do it in BIOS or wake on LAN, but if you want to solve it with iDRAC, it's perfectly fine. So yeah, I'm curious to know, because I've done a lot of this stuff too. It's fun figuring this stuff out, because I have something similar where I replicate, my data from a pool to another server. The other server doesn't need to be on 24 hours a day. Needs to be on in probably about 5 minutes a day, because most of those snapshots that I replicate are tiny, because not much has changed. So pretty awesome. I love it. Flowdash, been continuing setup Terraform for my entire home lab. Awesome. Ceph storage has been going great. Full HA, pfSense, and Proxmox has been fun for sure. Can there be HA TrueNAS self-hosted, or should I look elsewhere for HA mass storage? I don't think there is out of the box. I think that's kind of where scale comes in, and I don't really understand their architecture for that, because you got to have, I kind of understand it. You have this gateway, and behind there is all of your, your TrueNAS backed servers, and one of the gateway decides which one's up and where it's going to send the data, and then there are sync jobs in between. So I don't know. You have Ceph going. But I assume you're doing that you're using that for Proxmox VM storage or Proxmox storage in general. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's for something else. But yeah, it's tough. I think with TrueNAS, that's where they want you to buy, the enterprise license to be able to do some of those things with scale, where you have a gateway in front of it and then you have multiple nodes behind it where it can synchronize. However, that's the same kind of stuff that 45 drives is doing with Ceph. And so you might have at least the architecture or the know-how to do that without TrueNAS. But then again, it's like, okay, now you're abandoning, this appliance of TrueNAS, this operating system to help you do administrative tasks really fast and really easy, to then kind of venture out into the woods, maybe without a compass. So that's where I'm at, and that's why it's been hard for me to kind of, make that step away from TrueNAS and say like, hey, I'm going to try this on my own, is because like, I might have a compass, but I don't know, it's a lot to set up to do by yourself. And so unless you're, that's what you like and you're a storage administrator and you understand it really well, it's tough not to use it. At least for me at home, it is for sure. Hey, Arch Linux Penguin. All right, not just any Penguin, an Arch Linux one. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Appreciate your follow. Thank you. Empire Tycoon, thanks for the follow too. I appreciate it. E Radu, I think I might have said that one. If not, hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Maffer. Oh, let's see. Zebra Cakes. How's it going? Zebra Cakes. If electricity cost isn't out of control with the Dell R220, let me get this right. If electricity cost isn't out of control with the Dell R220 as ESXi hosts, can you think of any reason to downgrade to a micro or cheap Chinese boxes everywhere on Amazon just to save a few watts? I run Windows 10 AdGuard home, but plan on playing with Docker and another Linux VM or two. Any suggestions? This requires a drink. So, all things being equal, let's say you don't save any power, because right, you're saying it might be negligible. So if you don't save any power, you know, what do you lose or what do you gain? I will say that if you went down to a micro box, what you're gonna lose out on is expandability. When I say expandability, I mean, you know, the ability to throw in additional drives. Although on some you might have the ability to put in another one, but you'll reach that quicker, right? You're going to reach your limits a lot quicker. Want to add more RAM? Might be locked to 32 gigs of RAM, maybe 64. Boom, there's your ceiling. You have a lower ceiling on those boxes. You need to add additional drives. You might have one additional SATA or one additional NVMe. Boom, there's your ceiling there. Compute, you have zero. Your ceiling is whatever you buy, right? Because it's going to be, you know, an N100, or it's going to be some low power i5 or i7 or something like that, where, you know, immediately you can't replace the CPU. Which this all could be fine. This all could be fine if it runs what you need it to run and it works. It could be fine. You don't get PCI Express devices, right? You can't add 10 gig, 2.5 gig ports. Might come with it, who knows? You can't add, you know, additional video card or something in the future if you want to do transcoding, but hey, it might have, you know, Intel GPU built in to where you don't need it, and it's going to encode them fine with QuickSync, right? So all of these things might be moot. It just kind of depends on what you plan on doing with it. So I will say the other thing that you're gonna miss out on, and maybe this was kind of sprinkled in there too, is you're gonna run out of PCI Express lanes really quick. I mean, you don't have any more additional PCI Express lanes, right? Which kind of falls back into, hey, you can't expand PCI devices. We're on a server like a 220, you know, you have lots of lanes, although limited expandability as far as what you can actually plug into it. You have enough lanes for everything. So I mean, it's kind of up to you. Even if it is the same power, same power, you know, things that you might benefit from is lower noise. Absolutely, it's going to be quieter. Absolutely, it's going to give off less heat. And it's going to be totally self-contained. I mean, that's maybe that's a good or a bad thing, but, you know, it's going to have a super small footprint. You know, it's going to be like, hey, need to get rid of the mini PC. Boom, you know, throw it out. Not that this is a mini PC, but you know what I mean. And you wouldn't throw it out, right? You would upcycle or recycle or donate it or something to somewhere you absolutely would not throw it out. But I'm saying, you know, the physical footprint is a lot smaller. So food for thought, things to think about. It kind of depends on you. If you don't see yourself exceeding everything that a mini PC would provide to you the day you buy it for a couple of years, I see it's a good idea. It's a good idea, because a few watts is pretty close, so that's pretty close. I've seen an order of magnitude less power being used by some of these smaller PCs. And smaller doesn't always mean more efficient either. Small, you know, you gotta look, see what the CPU is, and you gotta test or do some research to see what the max power they pull is. Because, you know, my Intel NUCs, although smaller, they can pull 120 watts if they want, you know. 120 watts is what my whole entire TrueNAS server is pulling before I put in more drives with 6 drives, you know. So that's, and it's a Xeon too, right? So just because it's smaller doesn't mean it's more efficient. So I mean, there's a lot goes into it, but you guys know this. But I'm just doing a brain dump of this stuff. So. Let's see, Towley, rack is water cooled. Nice. Downsized to only 3 servers now. Bittersweet. I know what you mean. I'm starting to get gaps in my server rack, and I'm starting, you know, it's just like holes in my heart that need to be filled in with other things. So I hear what you mean, but water cooled, pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome. Xavius D, I know you're gonna program it to use the 90s, Rave light when you go upstairs upstairs. Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Wait until you see my next server room tour. I gotta lean into it. I gotta lean into it because it's kind of what people expect. I toned it down a little bit. This year in this year's server tour, although it's bright white in there. Toned it down. Like, I'm not going to focus on RGB that much, although you can see all the RGB in that room. But I will tell you that there's a ton of utility in it because, you know, I've worked on plenty of servers or racks or my own cases where it's like I'm working in a cave and I'm using, you know, my phone's flashlight, or prior to that, I'm using a real flashlight or some lamp that I found and plugged in and put it in my server rack just so I could see. And so I will say that, you know, even if you hate RGB, lining it with a cheap light strip and just going cool white or even warm light, but you need cool white in there. Keep it cool in there. A cool white, I mean, you know, a more bluish type of white inside of your server rack will go a long way. Even if you hate RGB, buy the cheapest Govee one or whatever it is. You have my permission. Doesn't mean you love RGB, but once you work inside of your server rack and you have additional light, you're like, this is amazing. It's amazing. There's no mistaking anything back there. So, but yeah, awesome. I know what you mean though. Tally. The 1600X, oh, my Optanes. I think I have, I was gonna say I have the packaging right here, but I don't think I do. I don't know where I put it. I'll let you know. I'll toss it into Discord which models I got. I actually have the photo. Okay, how well is this gonna work? Probably not at all. This is like my version of taking a picture of a picture. Let me see. Yeah, this is my version of taking a picture of a picture. That's what they are. It turned out pretty good. Well, I'll send it out on Twitter soon. I plan to do it right after the stream. I was running a little bit late. I was going to do it before, but I'll show you which models. So, and then if you're in Discord, you'll see it without even going on Twitter because it'll be posted in notifications. But I think they're the 118 gigabyte ones. I think they're the 118s. 118s. I was gonna go super small, like 16 or something, and then I saw 32s, and I was doing some reading, and a lot of people said the 118s are the good ones. So hopefully, I made a good decision. I should have checked with you. I knew you would have known. Okay. Kanoa. Kanoa. By the way, what do you use as a Google Drive alternative and Google Photos? What do I use as a Google Drive alternative? Nothing right now. Well, it depends. I mean, I use my NAS for all documents, right? So I use my NAS for all documents, regardless. My NAS is everything to me. It's how I do work stuff. It's where some of my code lives. It's where all of my videos live. It's where everything where I work on live. That aside, I do still use Google Drive for like my business account, and that's where I kind of either collaborate on stuff, where I kind of put things that are not well formed yet. It's kind of my cloud storage space. What anyone uses cloud stuff for. I haven't 100% bought in and put everything in the cloud because of many reasons. I'm sure you guys can think of just 10 right off the top of your head. But it's hard not to be there when other companies are too, right? They send you something in Google Drive, you have to comment on it, or you have to send it back or kind of route it back to them. And so I, personally, it's TrueNAS, and then there's Google Drives for some work type stuff, quote unquote work type stuff. There are alternatives out there. A lot of people, choose Nextcloud and things like that. I tried Nextcloud for a long time. It just felt slow, and it could have been my implementation at the time. It just felt a little bit slower than I'd liked it to be, so I didn't fully buy into it. As far as Google Photos goes, I mean, Image is going to be your best friend. Image, it's IMMICH. Think of it like saying image, but with just like saying image. Instead of that G, that hard G, you're going to say CH. And so what that is an open source, basically Google Photos replacement. Done a great job. I think the lead developer was recently on the self-hosted podcast. It does everything. I mean, everything offline, backs up your phones, does synchronization, will even it does all your geotagging, all local, I must say. So this is all local, self-hosted, and works great. Can do object detection, you name it. Whatever you throw at it, it will do. And I think think that that's a good replacement. I will say it's in early beta. It's changing rapidly. Do you wanna make a bet on that? Sure. I mean, sure. If you totally want to get out of the cloud business, I think that's your best bet. I mean, if you want to get out of the cloud business, but still have your own personal cloud that's private, that you can access and no one else can, yes, I think that's your best bet. Your best bet is just like don't have cloud access to it altogether. Put it on your NAS at home, turn off external access, and VPN only. And even that, arguably, you might not want to allow then to your NAS over VPN. But that's your own policy. You're going to have to decide it and make. So there are all alternatives out there. Image is going to be your best one for if you're looking for a Google Photos replacement. Google Drive is a harder one because, I feel like Nextcloud is kind of there. Nextcloud's doing a ton of other stuff too. And while, while they are doing great stuff and they're doing stuff, that's a really business focused, it's some point in time, it's kind of like, I kind of want to, almost like a Dropbox like type replacement where it's like, I get my files, I have editors, but I'm not going to do communications. I'm not going to do chat. I'm not going to do any of that other stuff. I'm not going to build wikis, right? I just want file access with editing and viewing capabilities and sharing capabilities. So jury's still out on that one, on a great replacement. I mean, arguably, Nextcloud is going to be the leader in this space. So if I had to choose one today, I would say Nextcloud, and I would say Image for your photos. Or you could do Nextcloud for both, but I think Image is it's really focused. They're like the do one thing and do it well, once and well, right? Oh, sorry, my foot. It's the once and well type approach where, it's a narrow focus on just photos and giving you the best photo experience out there. Sorry, that was a long one, but I really like what they're doing. Towley, physical TrueNAS is such a sigh of relief. One less layer of complexity. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I like, it's not that I like things painful. I like efficiency, right? And so for a long time, when I started growing my rack, I never had the hardware or wanted to stomach the additional power to run TrueNAS bare metal. So I was like, well, hey, get a dumb JBOD, put disks in it. That's little additional power, but not as much as a full server. And then I don't need to buy additional RAM. I don't need to buy additional hard drives, like OS drives and all this other stuff. I could just, use things in my Proxmox stack, the same as the reason why we virtualize a lot of stuff. So, I was going for an efficiency play. But now that with my HL15 that my NAS is I think pretty efficient for what it is, for what I'm getting out of it, it makes more sense to do it that way too. So anyways, but yeah, it is a sigh of relief. But still, I have it's like ingrained in me when I go to reboot my old Proxmox machine that had it in there. Like I have to stop and think, like, is anyone on Plex? Am I backing anything up? Do I have any files open? I go through that whole thing and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about that anymore. Awesome. Just reboot my Proxmox server that it used to be on. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Let's see. P-Tougher-knee. Oh, I had a hard time saying this one last time. So if you could help me out with that and spell it out phonetically, that would be awesome, because I think last stream I had a tough time pronouncing it. Anyways, I decided to buy another old PC just to make a home lab at home. Yeah, all right. I think I could have a problem with collecting old computers. Yeah, it's easy to do. It's easy to do, right? It's kind of like, I have that problem too. If we're driving down the alley and I see a PC out next to the trash, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop and at least look at it, right? I mean, this is people's trash. Sometimes, they'll have them out there. Or if one's at Goodwill or anything, and I'm going to look at it. No matter what it is, I'm going to look at it. And so I kind of have that problem too. But I have told myself recently, like I went through this phase where I collected a lot. Then I fixed them all up and made them all work. I fixed them all up, cleaned them all up, and got them all working. Put Ubuntu on them, and then I just donated them Goodwill, because I'm like, okay, at least these guys will get another home. And so yeah, I encourage you to do that too. If you have enough machines, they aren't doing much, fix them up, give them to someone too, because it's pretty awesome. throw Linux on there too, and just be like, hey, you got to figure it out, or throw Ubuntu on it, and and just don't tell them anything other than the login. Scotch, I'm also interested in what Flowdash says. Anyone doing TrueNAS HA? Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you got to buy in. You got to buy into their enterprise to be able to do it. There might be ways outside of that with lots of hacks, maybe a gateway in front of it, sync jobs that are running all the time. But it's I'm sure there's a way, right? Because they're doing it, so there's got to be a way. I just think that once you buy into their enterprise product, it's turning on some enterprise middleware and some other stuff to where it's like, cool, you get it. I don't want to say cheap, but relatively cheap considering what you would pay in developing it yourself. Just Kaiser Soze. Just Kaiser Soze. Sorry. Kaiser Soze. Took me a second. Kaiser Soze. All right, I love it. Trying to run a calibration test on my APC UPS after replacing the batteries, but it keeps failing with an internal error code. Maybe time to just upgrade the UPS itself. Yeah, that's tough. Because UPSs are great because you can replace their batteries, right? The batteries are just commodities, right? But the controller itself is great. And a lot of consumers, most places don't. I mean, we know that, right? People in the home lab and IT kind of know that, but a lot of other people don't. They think, hey, this UPS is bad, I'm just going to get rid of it. But it's only the battery that's bad, right? And it has a great controller in there. And so, like you could go anywhere and buy, an aftermarket battery, and then you have a brand new device, sometimes upwards to $1,000 device just by, replacing it with a $100 battery or cheaper. So, but as you're seeing, the bad side of it is if you're running the calibration test and that's failing, with an internal error code, that's not good. And so that's tough to diagnose because you don't know if it's the controller of the battery without getting another battery. So that's tough. The only thing I would suggest to do if you can is if that's a hardware test, you're doing it on device, see if there's software for it to try the software test. Whatever the parachute utility, if it's APC, all those tests. See if you can do it on the software side, because it might give you some more information and maybe some clues onto what it is. And there might be a firmware update for it too. So I'd say before you totally throw it out, see if they have some software for it. If they do, hook it up real quick, run the software diagnostic test, because you might get more information than just some simple error code on the LCD screen on the device itself. So yeah, it's worth looking into though, because those are, like I said, people will get rid of those without totally needing to get rid of them because the batteries is dead. Xavier, he's gonna say, Kates, I told you. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. G'day from down under. I'm working on making some Switch money. Wait, hold on. G'day. I'm in the land down under. LAN, I like it. LAN, not a local area network, not the land. The LAN, I like it. Mr. DJ Keck, I'm sure that, I don't know if that's a typo or a pun, but I like it. I'm working on making some Switch money. Playing poker. Well, I hope you get it. I don't know if you're talking about a Nintendo Switch or a real networking Switch, but either way, I'm here for it because both awesome. I assume you mean network Switch, but you never know. I hope you win. Go all in. There's too much RGB. That Switch from earlier this week is too much. I don't see the use for it, but still, no B-Ryu. I totally get it. And that's why I think, I talked about it a little bit too. I think there's something in there too for people who don't like RGB, because if you could have 100% lights out mode, that's even more than what you get with today's switches, which is blinking lights and lights that are on when you're not doing anything. But I totally get it. I get it. Like, to each his own. I totally understand. Any possibility to post coding videos? Hey, the internal net. I don't want to sign myself up for something, but yeah, I'm going to sign myself up for something. Yes. 2024. How about that? Because I only have one video left this year, but I have a couple of plans, 2024 early, that I need to see through before I have a lot of stuff I want to do. I told myself that in early 2024, I'm going to do a couple other things. One of them includes coding as well, because because I miss coding. I mean, I do coding for my day job, but I've realized that a lot of people appreciate it when I do that, and it might not be my typical audience. So I got to find a balance, right? I got to find a balance. But I've learned a lot in teaching like home lab stuff, and I would love to teach some coding stuff too. So we'll see. We'll see. I got some stuff planned. Keep an eye out for it. And I have a couple things planned. I don't mean to, I hate to be like totally, I don't know, like just vague about stuff, because most of the time the thing that you're excited about is more exciting to you than anyone else. But I'm excited about it. So you're getting a peek into what goes inside of my head. I'm just going to say yes. Early 2024. Stay tuned. 2023 is almost over. Can you believe it? We got like, 2 weeks left, and I still have one more video that I need to post, which is my software services tour. It's going to be the last video of the year, but it's going to be a complete walkthrough of my infrastructure from a logical perspective, logically how things connect, logically how I operate things, along with the software that's running that helps me make it all possible. So yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Veteran, hey, Veteran BV, Tier 1. Thank you so much for the Tier 1 sub. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome. Also, if you are a veteran, yeah, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Scrutiny for disk health checking seems decent. I need to check this out. Absolution, I need to check this out. Scrutiny. Unless you're talking about just scrutinizing it, like, why aren't you doing it? No, I'm sure it's a tool. Unlike JavaScript tools where it's like, hey, try out Broomstick JS. It'll fix your disks. You're just like, what? Scrutiny. I like it. Good name. Mr. DJ Keck, I saw you had a ZimaCube hanging around for testing. I'd really appreciate it if you could tell me if you've tested Proxmox on it and how to set up TrueNAS VMs on it and pass through a SATA controller. If not, please do. And let us know. I pledged. I'm really hoping I have not wasted my money on it. Yeah, you're right. They did send me one earlier. I haven't done a lot of testing on it. I'm going to be honest with you. They did send it to me. I'm going to hold off. I've only, for the most part, covered things where they've sent me the final release of something. Either with so many Zima things. With Zima, what was the first one? Zima board, right? It was the final version. Zima Blade, they sent me an engineering sample, but I didn't cover it until they sent me the final version that will go out into production. ZimaCube, they sent me an engineering model, and while it is nice, it's not the final hardware and it's not the final software. So I told them, like, hey, I'm not gonna cover this. Maybe when it's final, when people can actually buy, I will. I will say, look, Jeff from Craft Computing's done a ton of testing with it. I would say absolutely watch his video and reach out to him and see if he noticed anything. I just kind of like I said, I have an engineering sample that's not final anything. It's actually back there, but I said, like, I want to make sure that this is the final thing. While covering something that's pre-final is great. Like I just felt like I couldn't do that because I just didn't want to be wrong in the future when things change, right? Or right now, but wrong in the future. So I was like, yeah. But anyways, this is, again, what goes on inside my brain. I'm sure all of it's fine. This is the whole trust me, bro, right? Like if they're building on top of an existing platform that is Intel, which it is, yeah, I mean, who do you have to blame but Intel, right? But who knows on a custom board all the things that could be or would be. So anyways, I would appreciate reaching out to Craft Computing. I know he covered it. Maybe ask him in the video's comments or just reach out to him on Twitter or something too. I'm not signing him up to do anything he's not already doing, but he has a great video that does covered it. So yeah. Hey, dude, I'm not saying I do see that, like, There are some alerts going off, but I have no idea where they're coming from because I don't see them in my thing. Sigor, okay, Sigor. I thought I mentioned Sigor already. Anyways, my alerts are off on one screen, but they're going off on another one. So really quick. Oh, veteran. Hey, U.S. Marine Corps. I see that. Hey, thank you so much for your service. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yours and your family's sacrifices. So I appreciate it. Thank you for your service. All right, I saw that. Let me see. I salute. I wasn't in the military. I hope that's not offensive. I don't know if it is when civilians salute, but I do that when I sign off. And so, anyways, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. It means a lot for you and I know your family to make those sacrifices to help keep our country safe. So I appreciate it, Mr. Veteran BV. Anyways, really quick, Sigor, hey, thank you so much for, looks like streaming for 1 hour. I'm seeing like alerts, so I apologize. I saw an alert pop up, but I don't see it now. Sigor commands. Anyways, I'm looking at Veteran BV, and that's the last one I see here. I saw something pop up. I can't find it now. I thought it said Sigor, but anyways. Anyway, speaking of that time, I'm overtime. So that's what happens when I start a little bit late. I go a lot longer. So even though, you know, I borrow from the beginning of time, I end up more than making up for it in the end of time. So, hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. A lot of great talk, a lot of great topics. I love it. A lot of great opinions. Thank you for sharing everything that you're working on. It gives me so many ideas and it inspires me to go and start tearing up my stuff because it's exactly what I'm doing. After I clean up this room, you can't see the gigantic mess I have over here because that's all hidden. I did fix that sound. I don't hear that sound anymore. That sound used to blow out my eardrums when you change the lights in here. Not anymore. But I got to clean up this room, and at the same point, I'm going to start tearing stuff up. I will post here soon, probably on Twitter. If you're in Discord, you'll see it. You don't have to get on Twitter to see it, because I post all my tweets in there, too, just because, you know, whatever, people don't need to go on a social media site to see what I'm saying. But I will post which Intel Optanes I am using, as well as which Super Micro PCI Express card I am using that does give me 2 NVMe slots, and bifurcation does work, so it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. So anyway, and it's relatively priced. Like it's super well priced for what it is. I'm like, wow. Anyways, I'll post all that. You guys will see it. I did mention Discord. If you're not in Discord, I encourage you to join. We have a Discord server full of we're over 9,000 people now. It's a partner Discord. Lots of smart, lots of intelligent, lots of nice people in there. I say this all the time, but somehow I got so lucky when I started this Discord server because I ended up with some of the smartest, nicest people on the planet who like tech that are also in there. Super knowledgeable. Anything that I've said, I know most people, the collective knowledge of everyone in there would have a better answer than what I have. But I encourage you to join. Even if you don't like to say anything, it's a great place to just like listen and lurk. I lurk all the time and I learn so much and I get so many ideas. So it's awesome. I'm going to say Sao CS. Saux. I'm pronouncing it all. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. But again, if you need to figure out how to join, just Google Techno Tim Discord. It's a partnered one, so you could technically get there from discord.gg/Techno Tim. You could just Google it or DuckDuckGo it, or you could Google it with DuckDuckGo or Google it with Bing, whatever you want to do. Or just hit !Discord and the bot will give it to you any time of the day. You ever forget, come back to Twitch chat, do it, the bot will do it. So anyways, have a great week. I know that next week is getting pretty close to Christmas, and I might be, we'll see. I'll post an update on how next Saturday is going to be handled because I have some stuff going on, but I'll figure it out and I'll post there. And also, I'm trying to keep my calendar up to date in Discord with Discord events. So if you ever are like, what day is he streaming? Discord will always be up to date too. So anyways, that is a lot about stream logistics. Have a great Saturday. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you for being here, and take care, folks. Be good to each other. Take care.